Hey everyone, it's Bestie Boy. So I was just hanging out, thinking about stuff, living my life, and I had a couple of thoughts that I thought I would just dump out there because, they were kind of things that I would put into a PCP. I'm constantly churning out ideas of stuff I want to talk about, and I can't wait for a PCP because they'll fall through the cracks like tears in the rain. Yeah, I was just thinking about stuff, and I wanted to get it out there before I forgot about it, because I do that all the time, and I always regret it. So I thought, Digi makes his vlogs just on a whim, and I don't have quite as nice a camera as him, like that I can set up easily, so I thought I would just audio record it and put it out there. So you guys can tell me what you think of it. This is less planned out than like the one I did about YouTube is cowardly and I don't respect it. So what I was thinking about just now was that, so during the day, Digi linked me earlier today a new Pogo song that came out, and it was one about Star Trek. I forget the name, but Pogo is this amazing remixer who does these really ethereal, kind of haunting remixes of. He's done a lot of Disney movies, but this is, I haven't checked him out for quite a while. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but I really love his Alice in Wonderland one, which is his most popular video on his channel. And today he released one about Star Trek, specifically about Picard and Data. I think it might have been called Picard and Data. You know what? I'm just going to Google it. Data and Picard. Yes, indeed. Okay. So I was listening to it, and I watched it at the beginning of the day when Digi linked it, and my immediate thought was that the song is great, as it always is for every remix Pogo does. They're always fantastic. And this one was, again, awesome. But that was this morning, and so the day has passed, and I found myself thinking it's sort of going through phases as I was processing this video. This is the tale of a man processing a piece of art. Is what I'm talking about here. So when I first watched it, I immediately loved the song. But when the video, if you watch it, it's Pogo himself. I think that's who it is. Normally, when he did his like Alice in Wonderland and all the Disney ones, he would sort of take the animation clips and loop them, do various things with them. But he would use the source material that he's ripping the lyrics from, or not the lyrics, but the bits that he's remixing from those shows. He would use clips from that source and edit, use them in various ways to convey whatever he's going for at the particular time. But for this one, he chose to do it live action. He chose to dress up as Picard and Data and do it, sort of like green screen, like he's in the setting of, the Next Generation, or, just doing whatever. And at first, my thought was, that's cool, but it's a shame that you didn't just show me Picard and Data, because Picard and Data are my two of my favorite characters of all time. They're such wonderful men, and I would love to just watch them on screen, in any capacity. So it was a little bit disappointing to me that he didn't do his normal shtick of looping animation to do, or looping, clips from the source material in whatever way. But as the day went on, the song got stuck in my head, and I kept listening to it. And I got more into it. I read the description, a few hours later, and realized, like, oh, wow, he bought these replicas, and he bought the uniforms, specifically for the video, which obviously he did, but I didn't really process it until that point. And specifically, he said, like, I couldn't get a yellow uniform or Data's contact lens, because Data has these creepy yellow eyes, and in addition to his weird ivory skin. But he said what I had to do was I had to meticulously color correct the uniform and his own eyes and the color of his eyes to make him look like Data's. And I'm starting to think, like, wow, okay, he put a lot of work into this. This is more than I initially thought. And this is silly coming from someone like me who puts in so much effort into editing his videos. It took me, processing to the next degree to realize how much work he had put into this. So at that point, I watched it again, and I thought, I actually am really enjoying what he's doing. His little dance moves were goofy. The fact that he dressed up as the characters, who I absolutely love. God, I love Data and Picard so much. And that's for intellectual reasons, not just for, not like those people who have Klingon weddings just because they like Klingon culture so much. Actually, you know what? When I watched Deep Space Nine recently, I finally understood, I think, why people like Klingon culture so much. But I'm a Federation boy for life. But in any case, so I'm starting to appreciate it more. And now it was evening, and so I'd been listening to the song over and over again all throughout the day, kind of becoming more and more enamored with it. And by the end, I found myself just utterly enraptured by the amount of effort he had put into his performance in the video. I loved the way, and he talked about this in his description of the video as well, the fact that he had recorded the whole thing in his living room, is what he said, on a green screen, and cut it down, because I had kind of thought he had used sets, because it looks so great, but obviously looking at it now, it's a little more simplistic than that. But the lighting is really good, just the details are so excellent in this video. And the song, of course, the song stayed a 10 out of 10, wonderful thing throughout the day. But it was at the end of the day, not too long ago from now, when I started to really think about the lyrics. And to be fair, it's not like Pogo himself did anything amazing with these lyrics, but he did choose some that made me think about it, only because I'd been on this journey of sort of diving deeper into this video and the things presented into it. And it made me arrive at this conclusion that I'm going to describe now. So one of the lines that's quoted in the song is, and you're probably familiar with it, it's, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," which is a Shakespearean line, obviously. I forget what it's from, maybe Romeo and Juliet. But Picard is quoting it, I believe, in an episode where he is trying to romance someone awkwardly. He's doing it really awkwardly. He's kind of being forced to try to romance someone against his own will. Excuse me. And he's not really wanting to do it, but his first thought is to quote poetry at this person that he's trying to romance. So he quotes this, romantic line, as well as a bunch of other stuff. But I started to really think about what that line meant. And again, to be even more fair, it's not like this isn't really a Star Trek thing specifically, but it does tie into a lot of the themes of Star Trek that particular line was used. But I was thinking about that line. So, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," is of course saying that, it's your life. If you're looking at the two timelines, the two possible timelines of any given part of your life, if in one timeline you've experienced a romance, and there's been the ups and downs all came with it, and then it ended, you could say unsuccessfully at the end, it did not work out however you imagined it to, then that is going to be compared to the timeline where that didn't happen. It was just kind of a flat line where, the romance is concerned, all other factors being the same. Despite the tragic ending of the, dead romance, the cut thread of the red string of fate on that side, you're better off having experienced those things. And, that's kind of what life is, the ups and downs of meetings and partings and romance that begin and end. That's what life is. And so we all can appreciate that there's more. Life is better, when you experience those things. But then I started thinking about it in a sort of a larger context that more relates to Star Trek. And it was, so in a galaxy, or in a universe, you could say, where, in the Star Trek universe is very secular. There's not a lot of religion going on in Star Trek, and I'm a pretty secular person myself. When you think about the reason for human existence, or why the people of the Federation do what they do, you have to wonder about what the motivations for that are. And I believe Picard said in one episode that, I don't know a quote specifically, but the mission of the Federation is to seek out new worlds and new life forms and establish peaceful relationships with them, just for the sake of, exploring the universe, because they feel a compulsion to explore and to just find out what the heck's going on out there in the galaxy and the universe. And so that's been the main driving force for why Starfleet was established and why they do what they do. And so now, in the context of this quote, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," it is a fact, it is a reality of the universe that it will end one day. So, in the most optimistic view of the human species, the best thing we could hope for as a species is that humanity will spread to the stars. We'll found Starfleet, which I'll be founding very soon. Donate to my Kickstarter, which I will start to found Starfleet one of these days. And we'll form a galactic civilization and possibly a universal civilization. And it'll be great. But one day, billions of years from now, the universe is billions of years old. It's going to last a few more billion. But once that happens, the universe will end. Heat death of the universe is constantly expanding. It won't be able to sustain life. And even if we found a way to circumvent that, it will collapse eventually. And barring any, interdimensional shifting, there's no way for us to avoid the end of humanity in, any one of these doomsday scenarios in billions of years. So, nobody get too worried about it if you're concerned. It's nothing to worry about in the short term. But again, that's the thing. It's nothing to worry about in the short term. For example, what's a short-term thing? I mean, a much more realistic idea of what humanity is going to do is that we won't necessarily last billions of years, but that the human race will eventually end. There will be an ending to it at some point, and that very much is what our lives are like. We live, our good 70, 80, 100 years if we're lucky, and then we die, and that's pretty much the end of it. And considering that, again, that sort of moral compulsion question comes up. Why do we do any of the things we do? Why is Starfleet compelled to explore? Why are we compelled to get up in the morning? And there's also more acute moral implications that are often brought up when you talk about secular morality. Why, don't secular people just, act hedonistically, rape, pillage, murder, destroy, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to get too much into that, but it all kind of ties into the same thing about, our lives, as well as all of humanity, are sort of like that quote, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." You could tweak that and perhaps say, "'Tis better to have lived and died than never to have lived at all." Because I was just thinking about how all life eventually ends. It is, thus far, we've not seen anything that has continued to live forever. And then it shows no signs of decay or death at the end of its existence. And, we won't get into, consciousness or if it's real, if it's an illusion, if free will is an illusion. Let's just assume free will is real for the sake of this discussion. It doesn't even need to be addressed, frankly, one way or the other. But the fact that we live and die is in itself an irreversible truth of the universe. You, me, everyone listening right now, everyone not listening right now, is living a life, experiencing the things that they experience, and then it ends, and they die. And that's the end of it. But all those things that happened to them while they were alive, it's not like they are invalidated upon death. Everything that happened to us over the course of our life had a real, you could call it spiritual if you want. I don't really believe in that sort of thing, but just in the sense of it refers to your personhood. The experiences you feel as an individual are real, meaningful experiences to you. And frankly, what other criteria do you have with which to judge the universe around you? There's not a heck of a lot of it. So, I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about how people bring up the fact that the universe, like a nihilistic view, is that the universe has no meaning whatsoever, and because of that, we have no meaning, and as a result, our lives are meaningless. But I've never quite agreed with that notion. I've always found comfort in a belief that our lives are meaning. People say that our lives have the meaning that we give to them, but even more acutely than that, they are irrefutably impactful upon us as people. Our feelings are legitimate. And, I hold the belief that we are nothing more than complex biomachines that don't have a soul. We don't have any kind of deeper consciousness. And in fact, everything that we think of as consciousness is actually just kind of high-level computations, and all the things that we think that we're observing are just kind of the CPU of our computer reacting to inputs and outputs, and it's outputting things, inputting things, making decisions that we don't have any control over. But none of that matters, because nonetheless, the things that we're experiencing every day are real, are tangible, they make an impact on us as individuals, and it doesn't matter that when we die, it's all over, because those things were real, they were true, and they will always be true, and nothing can change that. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know. I heard that line in that song after listening to this song all day, and eventually came to this thought process. So maybe this was helpful and you could see kind of the way that I think about things. Or for me, this was a fun exercise to sort of watch the way my perception of a piece of art can evolve over the course of experiencing it over the course of a day or any period of time. Because at the beginning of the day, I was kind of lukewarm towards this project just because it wasn't Picard and Data in the video. But then I started to appreciate it more because the guy was in it, and only because it varied from what I was wanting it to be, and I doubled back to analyze it a little bit further, to dig a little bit deeper, that I thought I noticed this line, I started to think about it, and it brought all these other ideas out of the woodwork, So I thought it was really fun. I had a good time doing that over the course of the day. This is kind of what I do when I'm at work, doing things that aren't as interesting to me as philosophical discussions like this. So, yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this as well. And, really, I want everyone in the world to think about things like this, and to give things that they haven't thought about as deeply as maybe they could a second chance. And that's kind of the modus operandi of my channel, of Best Guy Ever. With the Gurren Lagann video was inspired by people not understanding Gurren Lagann well enough, and I saw reviews around that were just not of a sufficient degree of analysis or quality of the things that specifically I liked. It's not like I get every 100% thing that happened in the show. Even me, I'm sure there's tons of stuff that I've missed, because art is really deep, and just the fact of creating something involves so many tiny little decisions, and so many little ideas are woven into even the simplest little line, that from someone just reading it, it's easy to miss a whole universe of ideas and concepts that went into it, and to just get the things that we kind of want out of it, And I don't mean to toot my own horn, because I do this all the time. Like you just heard, this whole story. I miss things too. So I guess this is just a story about a boy who with a big dick and a big heart, like all stories should be. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Oh, and there's one other important thing about this fucking experience I had today with this video. I know what I'm doing for Halloween! Come cheer up, my lads, come cheer up, my lads, 'tis better to have loved and lost. Yeah.